Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by Chad Big Bad Johnson and James Gisante. Not a lot of things to talk about this week, but we do have a pretty big one, so we're going to focus mainly on that. And that is that Impact Wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling, have announced that they will be co-producing a show called Multiverse United that will take place in Los Angeles at the end of March. They have announced 3 matches for the show so far, and they're pretty good ones. Will Ospreay will be facing off against Speedball Mike Bailey. Kushida will face off against Impact World Champion Josh Alexander. And Moose will be facing Jeff Cobb in a big meaty men slapping meat match, which apparently James didn't know about. Oh,
oh my God. Whew, I got a case of the vapors.
I do declare.
Well,
while James gets himself back together, I can also tell you that X Division champ Trey Miguel, Ace Austin, Chris Bay, and most of the knockouts will be there for Impact. And for New Japan, we will be seeing Kenta, Rocky Romero, Minoru Suzuki, Clark Connors, Kevin Knight, Fred Rosser, and others. So James, obviously, as our Impact guy, and quite frankly, our New Japan guy, the second I saw this, I thought of you. I can only imagine how excited you are. I can now see how excited you are, especially after I mentioned that Moose Cobb match. But so talk about that, how hyped you are, but also if you know anything about how this came about or how we got here, I'd love to hear that too.
So I can't speak on the details of how this came about, but if there's one name that is probably going to be thrown around and maybe not get the attention he deserves, it's probably Rocky Romero. Rocky Romero of Chaos, Rocky Romero of Roppongi Vice, Rocky Romero of the Best Friends. Rocky is for those who don't know him, he's a junior heavyweight. He works behind the scenes for New Japan, and he's instrumental on a lot of the comings and goings of New Japan talent working in the United States, whether that's for the big guys like AEW or Impact or Indies in general. He's a very important figure to international wrestling. So without knowing any details, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Rocky had a big hand to play in this. So preemptive, thank you, Rocky. AEW, they coined the term, well, I guess technically Tanahashi did, Forbidden Door. But the reality is, while AEW and New Japan might have had the Forbidden Door between companies, I'd say that Impact is sort of the nexus where all these other companies sort of, in a weird way, kind of revolve in how to get their talent in cross-promotional stuff. In the last year, in the last 12 months kind of thing, we've seen interactions with Impact, with New Japan, with AEW, with WWE, before Tony Khan bought it and really we got into all the big stuff, or even, truth be told, even after, but as we were dealing with the transition, Ring of Honor, there is a lot of cross-pollination in Impact. A lot of talent go to Impact when they're either on excursion from Japan. Currently, Kushida is doing a lot of work with Impact. Before him, we had a young lion, Yu Yamura. And Impact treats these guys very well. It's not an AEW situation where when these guys come over, they're coming over for a loss to put over an AEW guy. These New Japan guys look really good when they go to Impact. So I think in a lot of ways, this was a very smart move between the two companies to make this happen. And again, the timing of it, it's happening March 30th in Los Angeles. That's WrestleMania weekend.
It's Thursday.
It's Thursday thank you. It's WrestleMania week, they did this on purpose. How do you get the most attention to your show on WrestleMania week? You announce your own super show. Ring of Honor and New Japan used to do it. I went to many Ring of Honor G1 Supercard shows over the years. Instead of going to like NXT or Hall of Fame and stuff, I would go to those shows because they offered great wrestling. And you guys saw it. I don't think anybody else did because of the view, and I was shocked silently. But my jaw dropped when I heard Moose versus Jeff Cobb. That match is going to slap all the meat.
He did one of these. He was like, could not believe he pulled full blown, just absolute shock.
The names involved, these are some dream scenario matches. Moose versus Jeff Cobb. Moose is one of the biggest names Impact has, and he was one of the select few who wrestled Kenny Omega for the Impact Championship when Kenny had the belt. Kushida versus Josh Alexander. Kushida is the best junior heavyweight in the world, period. Stop. Full stop. There's no question on who's a better junior. It's Kushida. So he's, like I said, he's been doing a lot of work with Impact. And I've said in the Gym Pack Zone, I wish they would use Kushida better. I wish that they put him in more high profile stuff as opposed to tag matches or just meaningless singles matches. He's going against the Impact World Champion. Granted, that's if Josh Alexander can hold the belt all the way to Multiverse United. But that's still a gigantic match, title or no title. And then on top of it, oh my God, Will Ospreay versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Speedball is a name that I know a lot of people aren't familiar with because of his issues, his visa issues. He wasn't allowed in the United States for several years because of visa issues. Guess what? The moment he was able to come back, I would argue Speedball Mike Bailey is one of the best wrestlers on the planet and had one of the best years of any wrestler last year. If you haven't watched Speedball, go watch him. He's that damn good. And Will Ospreay is Will Ospreay. I don't need to explain who Will Ospreay is. So he's the guy who gave Orange Cassidy a run for his money. That's how you know he's serious. So Will Ospreay versus Mike Bailey. I'll be honest with you guys. I was debating whether or not I was going to buy tickets for the show. Those 3 matches alone, if they don't announce anything else, I'm going. I am going. I will be in California for WrestleMania week. I am going to that show.
Yeah, no, it looks really exciting. And as somebody who doesn't know too much about the history of Impact, and I know, and quite frankly, New Japan, I do know one thing about the two of those companies, and it's that they didn't get along for a while, especially when Impact was TNA. And I think that mostly has to revolve around the treatment of Okada when he was on his excursion over there. And shout out to the Bucks for helping him out. So it's really interesting seeing these two companies, you know, as Impact has evolved, and I guess as so has New Japan, you know, they've been able to come back together and they're actually working together really, really well. Like you said, Impact is, I said this before on the pod, it's like the meeting place of where everybody goes. It's like Switzerland of wrestling. Everyone goes there to, you know, to do everything. So it's nice to see these companies interact. I love when it happens. You know, we were kind of talking a little bit on the live yesterday, and it was mostly in the chat about how we wish like AAA and CMML would kind of get over their differences so we can see more, as you put it, and I like the phrase, cross-pollination within wrestling. So getting more of these matchups, Chad, getting just more, honestly, just getting more awesome shit is, I'm really excited to see this, even though I'm not the biggest Impact guy. No offense, James.
So it's obvious that James is the biggest Impact guy, but I've been in the Gym Pack Zone quite a few times, and I must say I'm probably more excited about this than I should be. I actually feel like James' spirit has jumped into me a little bit because this is going to rock. Like, I watch New Japan when Impact goes off, but I just watch like just a match or two, or I'll just watch maybe a segment and then I'll go on about my business. So anything that New Japan does, I'm wildly intrigued by, like all the time, just always. So anything they have or anything they're offering, I want to see. But this meeting place, you know what? I'll say this. I'll give credit where credit is due. Whether you like to or not, or whether anybody wants to admit if Impact and TNA was a great rival to WWE or if they were terrible, whatever. However you feel about the company, I would just like to commend them on, I want to say, minding their business.
I was gonna say finding their niche.
Yeah, like they're really the foundation underdog company. Like they literally, whether their ratings are good, bad, whether their stories are good, bad, whether the wrestlers are good, bad, they literally always keep pushing. And I think that Impact being like the little engine that could is hilarious after all these years now, because when TNA came out, it was super explosive. Then everything died down for a long time. And now it's like Forbidden Door, but not. So I have to commend them on always, like, they've tarnished the name at least 20 times and people still watch the show. So it's super great.
The amount of times I've seen Impact called a cockroach because you just can't kill it on the internet is unbelievable.
I love it. You have to commend them. Like, I mean, honestly,
I love that title, but I get it.
this is literally the little show that could. I love it. It sticks. It just sticks.
Yeah. And I mean, it evolved from like, you know, a WWE alternative and like a fairly viable one at that, with some really good, hot, young superstars.
Right.
And then obviously some of the ex-WWE guys came rolling in and fucked it all up. Mm-hmm. And it took them quite a while.
They do.
And it took them a while to recover for that. You know, there was, you know, LOL TNA for years. Mm-hmm. But ever since, I feel like the Impact rebrand, and as a lot of, you know, they've gotten new infusions of talent, they've just evolved again into what they are now, which is, you know, the alternative for not just WWE, but also AEW. And I think, like I said before, they've gotten this nice niche of, look, we're open to working with everybody. Like, that's their thing now. We'll work with AEW. We'll work with New Japan. I don't know if they get like guys from Mexico or not, but whoever wants to come work with them, they're totally cool with it, because that brings big names to them. It brings new eyes, and it only helps them. And, you know, even if certain people are only going there because Kenny Omega's fighting there this week, or, you know, somebody from Bullet Club is showing up to help out. Oh, Chris Bay, I think, is in Bullet Club. Like, whatever it is, even if you get a couple of people to get into the product, you're winning. Right. So they've been doing a phenomenal job, and this is that on a bigger, grander scale.
The funniest part about all of this is I literally remember everyone calling Impact the Legends Cemetery. Like, I just remember that. I remember that if you went to TNA or if you went to Impact, your career was over. And then to see it go from that to becoming almost like, I want to say like middle school going into high school, like the way it's just so diverse and real clubby, like the feeling of, no matter what anybody says, the people who go from the indies to Impact, you watch them when they're on Impact. Or if they go from WWE to Impact, you watch what they do at Impact. Like, if we're being honest, this is what got Drew McIntyre hired back. His run and Impact. So it's like everybody
and Evolve in other places like that.
Yeah, that as well. But like, I love that Impact is like this huge, like, boot camp now, and they let you be as free as you want, and they, you know, they let you run wild, and they let you get your stories over. They let you be a big star in their own way, and there's room for everybody, and they attach to all these companies and do all this crazy shit, because we get, the output is this. Like, this is going to be, whether anybody wants to say it or not, this is a big fucking deal. Like, it's a huge deal. I mean, of course, the bigger part of the deal is New Japan, because everybody's looking at New Japan, but regardless, this is pretty huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think for a lot of people, the names like Ospreay and Kushida are probably the bigger draw into this. And then obviously, those are just the guys announced with matches. Penta, Suzuki, like, those are huge names that are going to draw people into this too. But they're going to walk away loving guys like Speedball and Mike Bailey, like James said. Moose is really cool. I know Josh Alexander a little bit. He's been, from what I've seen of him, I really like him. Chris Bay's in Bullet Club, and he's really cool. He's a really cool member of Bullet Club, and I wish he could run with them a little bit more over there. But he's doing great in Impact. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm definitely gonna watch it. I guess that means I gotta buy it or steal James's login.
Absolutely
But
gonna steal James login.
yeah, 100%
That's the plan.
stealing James's login.
That's the plan.
We'll keep an eye out for him in the crowd. I do love the Legends Graveyard. It's so accurate. Like you said that, I'm just like running through all the guys in my head who left WWE, and it's weird too because like a lot of them still had it, but it just, the booking just went so sideways because of guys.
It was a
like
graveyard,
Hogan and
bro.
stuff, and Russo and Bischoff, and now I just want to run through them all. Angle went there, Christian went there. What's his name? Bobby Lashley, I'm pretty sure went there.
Yep. R-Truth.
Hogan, goddamn it, Truth, yeah.
Booker T.
Oh yeah, King Booker was there because it was a whole main event mafia.
Mm-hmm.
Who else?
Billy Gunn, Road Dogg.
Oh yeah,
the Dudleys.
The Dudleys,
like,
yeah.
Being honest,
it got
for real,
bad. Macho Man showed up once.
Being completely honest, if I can be fair, the only legend or superstar that I think went to that company and came back unscathed was Sting. And his booking was absolutely not good for a while as well. But he was unscathed. I think anybody's just excited to see Sting wherever you see Sting.
Did we talk Angle?
Yeah, oh, we were about to. I was going to say Angle looked really good over there.
He was the other one, but it was Angle's company. Like, I mean, I felt like it was built around him for me.
I mean, it was and it was. So Angle was the first legitimate superstar to leave and go to Impact. You know, you had Christian Cage ahead of that, but Christian became a main eventer in TNA. He was still a mid-carder in WWE. He was an Intercontinental at best guy. Kurt was a former world champion who was at the top of his game, and he left to go to Impact. Granted, he left because of other issues, yeah, but he still went there, and quite frankly, his TNA run lasted longer than his WWE run.
Yeah,
and it was good. Him versus
and it was fantastic. It was. He had great matches with AJ Styles. He had great matches with Samoa Joe. He had great matches with Abyss. He had great matches with every big name that went through that company, and he was incredible. Sting was the icon. You're right. He's a legend who went there, and it's a different ball game than Kurt. But Kurt elevated the company, and he never felt lesser for being there. You know?
Right. I agree. I totally agree.
And again, in terms of big names that had good runs in that company that didn't feel wasted, the Hardys, great run. Team 3D, otherwise known as the Dudley Boys, they great run. And again, longer Impact TNA run than they did in WWE.
The Hardys as a team, I assume you mean, because Jeff.
The reality is Jeff hit one of his lowest points as a person in that company. But as a wrestler, Jeff is a multi-time world champion in the company. Jeff has some historically great matches. Impact TNA had a match style called Monsters Ball, and it's just pure destruction. And Jeff had a fantastic Monsters Ball match there. He had great matches with AJ. He had great matches with a lot of the talent there. But yes, on the flip side, he did have his low point at Victory Road. But both Hardys, Matt won his first world championship in TNA. All those guys, I would not say got bungled because of their association with TNA.
I was telling Rev actually that it's so funny because when I was younger, TNA was nicknamed the Legend Cemetery.
That's true.
Yeah, and then I said now it's awesome to see it being this like summer camp, boot camp training kind of feel where everybody goes there, or like, you know, like lost friends. Oh, I saw you 5 years ago here from Impact, or you know what I'm saying. And I was telling Rev that like Drew McIntyre's story in itself, that no matter what anybody says, I think everybody has their eyes on Impact in some way, whether it's a good or bad way. And that's just great for the company. Now, if we're talking about the superstars in this match coming up, I'm gonna I'm gonna cut Impact an immense amount of slack. Their superstars are phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. Again, more people have to watch. Alexander is great. Great. I'd watch him in anything on any network in any match. Speedball, I am an avid fan. A huge fan. I'm just going to say it. Moose, at one point in time, was the best champion in the business.
I don't think I could disagree.
The business. I'm talking when we had Big E, Roman, and whoever else. Moose was holding shit down as the best champion in my eyes for just a little
TNA title
margin
too.
of time.
Yep.
Yo, it was amazing. But with that being said, Kushida, great draw. Love what he's doing. I'm excited as fuck.
This is going to be a great show. And again, those are 3 matches. They haven't announced who else is the big names that are going to be. Very realistically, we could see Kenny Omega because he's the IWGP United States champion. We could see Okada, who is the IWGP World Heavyweight champion. We could see Mercedes Moné.
Oh, shit.
Taking on Mickey James.
Oh, shit.
That'd be
That's
interesting.
amazing.
Right?
Kyrie as well.
Kyrie as well. The possibilities here are staggering. The Motor City Machine Guns versus, the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions right now are Goto and Yoshihashi. That's good. That would be a banger of a match.
Is Yoshihashi? No, I don't want to do that. Never mind.
No, it's not who you think it is.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, that guy is not well liked in any company he's in. Yeah,
I was unaware.
We'll get into that after the pod. But there is so much potential for this to be an amazing show. The downside is, just like most things associated with Impact, unfortunately, just being real, how many eyes are we going to get on it? That's really the question. That's the concern. How many eyes are we going to get on the show when it's Impact? It's been a problem since 2002 or 2003. I don't remember what year. Great, amazing talent. The best talent in the world. They don't get the viewership.
Well, do we get the eyes from New Japan?
You will. You definitely will. But even then, the eyes that we have on New Japan, it doesn't always translate to here in the States. And that's where it's going to matter. So I think this is going to be an excellent show. I think we're going to get excellent wrestling. I think it's going to be so much fun. I think it's going to cause a little bit of a splash because it is WrestleMania weekend. People who are there are looking to go to wrestling shows. So they might see a name that they recognize, or they just might see how, if Impact and New Japan are smart, they market the hell out of this, and they already have. This was a smart move naming it the way they have now. It was a smart move announcing it as early as they did and not just making it seem like some after the fact kind of show. So if they market this very well, they're going to have a sellout event. Tickets go on sale this Friday. I know I will be trying to be first in line to get seats. So we'll see. But I wish them the best in this. I love seeing companies interact. I know there's some fatigue right now because AEW with New Japan or AEW with Impact. I know that there is some fatigue with the cross promotion. I love it if it's done right. And I think a company like Impact is going to do it better than AEW did. So
I agree, actually.
So we shall see. I am very much looking forward to some of these matchups.
I think this is going to be quite refreshing, honestly.
Yep.
If I must be honest.
Yeah. Also, tickets are starting at $60. It's not that bad.
It's not.
I think they're going to sell quite well, and there's a bunch of stuff too. That you can get VIP seats with stuff like T-shirts, commemorative ringside photographs, and more. So,
did they say how much that package is?
They did not in the press release, but I'm like,
That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, of course you are. Papa G doesn't come home with a chair. He's going to be upset. All right.
I think they need to book Mercedes though. Just get a few more eyes.
She's only booked for she's only booked for 3 matches with New Japan. So one of them is the battle in the Valley, where she's taking on Kyrie. For the title. And, of course, you could always negotiate for more, and this might be a special circumstance show, so we'll see. But I think her price tag is kind of high, so they got to be careful with how they use her. And granted, I know that both women, I believe both Mercedes and Nikki, have talked about wanting to wrestle each other. So maybe this is a good scenario for that. We shall see.
Quick question.
Yeah, I think she'd be excited for it.
Is Mickie James still on her last ride situation?
So the last rodeo ended, and it ended with Mickie winning the title from Jordynne Grace. Now, the situation there, we don't have find out on the Gym Pack Zone, but I will say it's setting up for a fun dynamic between Mickie and Jordynne, where a heel turn is almost assuredly expected between one of them, most likely Jordynne Grace. And Mickie isn't even really just feuding with Jordynne Grace. She's feuding with fucking Bully Ray. I think they're wrestling tomorrow. I don't entirely know. I think this is leading to the return of Nick Aldis in Impact. So all things looking good for Impact in 2023. Their viewership is up. Their demo went down a little bit this last week, but the viewership has been steadily increasing. They're getting better word of mouth. I know a lot of people were like, LOL, Bully Ray, he's back. But that feud was very good for the company. It was very good for the wrestlers involved.
It got Santino into the mix.
Santino Marella?
Yeah.
So Chad, not only is Santino in Impact, he's in Impact as Santino Marella.
He got the name back.
I'm watching every week.
He's the like the authority figure in the company, and it's just been.
Oh, he's not wrestling.
He might do a match, but he's the
Dixie Carter.
Yeah. Before him was Scott D'Amore. Scott's gone.
Right.
And
Bully killed Scott, right? I mean, not murdered him, but he took him out.
As close to murdering someone as you can get. And Santino is now the new sheriff in town, and it's been good. He's been great.
Does he speak the same way?
Oh, yes.
Oh, he's got the accent and everything.
He's Santino. He is Santino. He talks like Santino. He acts like Santino. This is the same character in Impact.
It's full gimmick. It's full-blown gimmick.
Full gimmick. The only difference is he wears glasses. He wears a police badge to show he's in charge. And he's fantastic. He, like a highlight, he was Giselle Shaw, who was a knockout over there.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, her storyline is she wants the Knockouts tag team titles, but every time she partners with somebody, it ends disastrously. So she's asking Santino for another shot at the tag titles, and he says, well, I have to find you a partner. So he just starts asking random women who are walking by if they'll team with her, and she just doesn't want to. Nobody wants to because she's a bitch. And Santino goes, all right, I'll find you a tag team partner, but it will be incredibly difficult because nobody likes you. And then he just leaves. And it's
I am so fucking excited now. I have to catch up. I'm excited.
You are welcome in the Gym Pack. You're both welcome in the Gym Pack Zone tomorrow.
Yeah, football's over. I'll think about it. Maybe Santino should ask his sister.
Sadly, I don't think the rights for Santina transferred over.
I do want to say one more thing before we move on, that when we were talking about all the legends that went through TNA, we were remiss in not mentioning Ric Flair, only because it led to the greatest promo of all time with Jay Lethal. That's my line. That's the only reason I wanted to bring it up.
Fine.
You can have that.
But I think we can all agree we're looking forward to that show. All right, one quick thing before we get out of here. As most of you might know, we do record this episode after we do our live Dynamite review, and we have gotten word into the show that MJF not ripped off, but he kind of cribbed his amazing, fantastic promo about the car accident he got into when he was younger. Might have cribbed it off The Simpsons. Apparently, there's an episode of The Simpsons where Homer is drunk and he's driving and he crashes the car with Marge in it. And while she's unconscious, he puts her in the driver's seat because otherwise he would have gotten a third strike and probably lost his license or went to jail or something. So, Chad, Simpsons did it.
Simpsons did it first,
Yeah.
as always.
As always.
As always.
It's so weird though, because that promo was so good, and now everyone's just gonna know it as like, oh, he took it from The Simpsons.
But this goes back to what Danny talked about in the live, which is we're learning more about MJF's backstory, his origin and everything. And it contradicts what he talked about last year with Punk, which is last year with Punk, he was bullied by this same football team that he was drinking with in this story that he's telling to Brian. So a kid around the time where The Simpsons is super popular, thinking about that, using that story, it's totally legit. Like, it totally makes sense for this sociopath, this liar, to just take this random story thinking no one's going to know, using it for himself, and then getting caught for it. This sympathy he's trying to build, or not in this instance, not
definitely not trying to build sympathy.
Last year was sympathy, but this image he's trying to create of himself is a lie, and I think that's captivating. I would love for them to call this out. I would love if Bryan Danielson comes out next week on Dynamite and says, "The Simpsons, really?" and he just admits it. I would love that.
That would be dope.
We'll see. We shall see.
I don't think MJF would admit it because I don't think it's in his character to, but I do like the idea that, he's, a habitual liar, and he's a habitual line stepper, but he's a habitual liar. Like, I knew that would get Chad. All he does is lie. So him lying about his past makes sense. The thing he told Punk, I don't know, it might be true. I mean, look, it might have actually been happened in real life, but like in kayfabe, like, because Punk has such a high bullshit meter, I feel like that if MJF didn't tell the truth, Punk might have seen through it, and MJF wouldn't be able to use it against him. But at the same time, like, am I really supposed to believe that a guy who grew up in upper class Long Island was like that bad of a child? It's really captivating to watch a character where you truly can't believe anything he says, even if you do feel bad for him. I don't like going back and looking at that now. The Punk thing, when he was getting bullied and he was saying like how he was ADD riddled little I'm gonna say because he's a little Jew boy. Like, just I'm looking back, I think we all thought that was real. Now I don't know, and I think it's great character work, Chad. It really is.
Guys, I'm sorry, you're gonna hate me. I miss CM Punk.
I think we can all admit we miss CM Punk, the character.
I miss Punk so much because this story just honestly goes hand in hand with contradictions and hypocriticalness, and I just think that would be a great face-off around now. Oh, damn.
Yeah, I mean,
if everybody's smart, Punk will be back. If everyone can play nice, and I have faith that a lot of the key players can play nice, he will be back, and everyone will be making a lot of money. So let's see. Fingers crossed. You know me, I'm not a Punk guy.
I am though.
But no, and I respect that. But fingers crossed, he will be back sooner than later. If I'm Tony Khan and Punk's down to come back, the moment that 60-man Iron Man match is over and MJF wins, unfortunately, Cult of Personality hits.
If I remember correctly, this was a 9-month injury, estimated when it happened. I don't know or remember how long it's been since Brawl Out because I'm bad at math, but I do feel like he has a little more time in his rehab. I could be wrong. It looks like James is Googling that, so that'll be helpful. But yeah, no, I'll admit it. I miss CM Punk, the character. He was a really good character. Backstage, outside of wrestling, there's some things I like about the guy, in his public facing image, and there's some things I don't. I think he's actually a pretty solid commentator he does like one of the UFC minor leagues, and I catch clips of him announcing every once in a while, and he's pretty solid. But
All Out was
I don't
September.
know.
All Out was September.
Okay.
Or beginning of September. So October, November, December, January,
June,
February, March. It's 6 months. So realistically, if they wanted to bring him back and he doesn't get physical for a month or two and he's been healing well, it's doable.
Yeah, in theory, especially considering how far apart the AEW pay-per-views are. So You could do it in theory, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That I think that's a different discussion for a different time. I'm just sitting here laughing at the fact that MJF stole from the Simpsons.
No.
All right. And on that note, I think we're going to wrap things up here on the Mark It Down podcast. Before we do go, we do want to send our well wishes to Jerry the King Lawler after his medical incident this past week. We hope you're doing well, King. But like I said, we're going to wrap things up here on the pod. So be sure to like and subscribe. We basically did a Gym Pack Zone today with all this Impact talk. But if you want to see him review Impact live, James will have the Gym Pack Zone live here tomorrow, right after that show ends. You can also catch Danny's Raw Fast Forwards on Mondays. And after Dynamite every week, we have our AEW Dynamite review. You can also watch more podcasts here as they come out every week, and we do stuff after the pay-per-views as well. Also, be sure to check us out on all our social media stuff, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, all in the description below. And on that note, for Chad Big Bad Johnson and James Gisante, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you here on the Mark It Down podcast. Have a good one, everyone.